Well, everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Everybody, Cantonese Cat here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I just want to kind of go through a little bit of, let me see if my chart is showing okay over here with the screen. Yes, it is. Good. I just want to go through a little bit of a, how do you say that, business here. I do want to let you guys, I love the great Mass B. He's got a great Patreon. I'm a great supporter of him. Also love Danny. Danny has been a very good friend for a long time. He also has a Patreon. I am also a fan of his as well. I don't plan on opening a Patreon anytime soon, but I just want to kind of give these guys a little bit of a shout out here. So, yeah, they're basically like my partner in crime, if you will. I love those guys, and I just want to give them a shout out. That's all. Now, getting right into business here, you're asking me about whether or not I think the S&P 500, the market overall, is going to go higher. There are a couple of things that I was kind of looking at. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining the live stream. I do want to say, if you're believing the whole like RSI trend line thing, you can see that there has been a, this is a monthly chart of SPY, S&P 500. You can see that if you just kind of trend the RSI here, there's a little bit of a breakout here. Like you can see that there on the RSI, there's a little bit of a breakout here, and I'm not really like drawing it in a very precise way, but if you do that here, you're finally kind of breaking out against this RSI trend line, and these things are generally thought to be, pretty bullish when it happens. And I'm not banking it up, right? And everybody's kind of getting all scared at all-time highs. They think that price has been going up on like bearish diversions. You're right, but there's a regular RSI here on the monthly, which I think should mean something. And if you also just kind of zoom into it, into the man, you guys are already busting out with some chart requests here. I love it. If you also zoom in here in terms of this structure over here, like I really think this structure here looks pretty bullish. Like it just looks like basically you have a let's see if I can draw this appropriately. Basically you have like a breakout of this zone over here, and you have kind of a little bit of appropriate back test here on the weekly. And it also is staying above the Tenkan and Kijun. Tenkan's still above the Kijun, both on the monthly and the weekly, right? And also a couple months ago, you just bounced out of Tenkan. Tenkan is also quickly rising here as well. It's got some very nice separation here from the Tenkan and Kijun. So this is a nice bull trend. Like, I don't care what other people say. Like, this is a nice bull trend. You can keep on having some consolidation, but it's already been doing that. And I always think that this is like a very nice like cup handle and a little bit of a back test that we already had. On top of that, if you also look at the weekly RSI trend line, that has also been broken, So there's a lot of things that are telling me that it looks like the stock market wants to go higher in Q4. That's kind of what I'm looking at here. Now, I can look at the individual stocks, things like that, but they really look like some of the market leading stocks like Nvidia, Tesla, like it just looks like they're kind of primed to maybe go up on Q4, and that's kind of what I'm seeing here. So I got quite a few chart requests here to kind of go through. Some of them are by my members, so I'm going to go right into a few of them. And I did do a SOFI video recently, so I honestly, like, my thoughts really hasn't changed on SOFI. I thought that it was primed to break out, and it broken out, so there's really, more just like a little tiny bit of update here. But I did have somebody requested a few stocks here, so I'm going to go through them real quick. Let me go through some of your chart requests here real quick, and then I'm going to dive more into like Bitcoin and dive more into the miners, coin, MSTR, the good stuff, right? But I'm going to try to do it kind of one at a time here. First thing I'm going to go to is one of my members requested Nike. So I'm going to go straight look at Nike here. Now, if you look at the weekly, it still doesn't really look too good, does it? It still looks like it's just been mostly forming lower highs and lower lows. It still looks like it's a downtrend, right? The question is, does the downtrend end at some point? Is this a good falling knife to kind of try to catch, right? So if I pull up, man, this is being really slow right now. Is this going to be a problem? There you are. So if I pull up the wave trend oscillator, I'm just trying to look for any like bullish diversions. I'm not really seeing that all that much. Let me see if I pull up the RSI here, if I can see any. Because if you want me to catch a falling knife, at least I'd like to generally see a little bit of like a bullish divergence, at least on the weekly time frame. I'm not really seeing that. So that's a little bit, concerning. And still, as far as I'm concerned, still underneath a lot of weekly resistance here. is still underneath the boomerang support band. It's trying to reclaim that, but it's still like a little bit underneath of that. So I don't know about Nike quite just yet. The only thing about Nike though is that if you're really trying to catch a falling knife, you're wondering whether or not it's at like a pretty decent support level. I do have a Gann chart here that I have drawn based on the monthly, and the numbers I use is 720 and 10. And you can see that really since like 1985, it's been giving some pretty interesting symmetry here. It's just been riding up an angle here. It's getting some resistance here at the arc. And then it bounces through the arc, went to the next arc level, did what it had to do with the arc, and then went up a little higher, got challenged on the next arc, and then went up to the next arc, right? Back tested during COVID. And then it's just been going higher. Right now, it's been kind of having a hard time kind of getting to this arc right here. And what it's been doing really is just been trying to find support here at the horizontal zone. And we did have a little bit of a breakdown here in June, and right now we're trying to reclaim that. So I would not be surprised. I would not be entirely surprised if we end up reclaiming the horizontal line over here, which is around like $83 to kind of close the month, because it does look like it's a pretty important zone over here. And if it does end up reclaiming this, and if we actually have a pretty decent bounce, then I think we can probably go up higher to like maybe 200 in like 3 years or something like that, right? But it's still a falling knife. It's still forming mostly lower highs and lower lows, so it's a little bit concerning. Another reason why this might be a good falling knife to catch is it's finally, well, first of all, it punched through the monthly Ichimoku cloud, right? And right now the conversion is resistant, so it's a little bit concerning here. But yeah, it's still a falling knife. I still don't have any guarantees. But look at a 2-month chart. I think it's important to know that the downtrend has been so powerful that it's actually hitting the 2-month Ichimoku cloud, just like it did over here during this correction. Like whenever you have price just kind of went up for so long, like 10, 12 years in a row, they decided to do a little bit of a sideways correction here. So where did it end up going to? Every single chart, every single stock has its own personality. It looks like for Nike, the 2-month Ichimoku cloud might be what it tends to gravitate to during a correction. And it looks like it's kind of doing that, right? So I would not be surprised if it ends up finding support here in 2-month Ichimoku cloud and just kind of climb up a little bit higher over time. But I just don't know whether or not, there's not really any confirmation to tell me that this is like the bottom quite just yet, just because I don't really have any. At least I like to see some bullish diversions on like RSI or something like that. I'm just not really like seeing that, maybe a little bit, but I'm not really seeing like a clear bullish divergence. So yeah, I'm probably going to stay away from Nike, but if you want to catch a falling knife, this is not a bad falling knife to catch based on, 2-month Ichimoku cloud based on the Gann. So that's what I think about Nike. Another one of my requests is Target. If you look at Target, there are some promising things here with Target. I do have to say that I like the way that it looks. I think it's probably going to go higher, even though it's underneath the monthly Ichimoku cloud. It does have a lot of consolidation size between the Tengen and Kijun. You had a bullish cross here, right? And you also have like a little bit of a inverted head and shoulder look to it. This is the shoulder, this is the head, and this is another shoulder, right? It looks like it wants to punch through the monthly cloud and then back test it and go higher. That's what it looks like to me. Now, why did I say that? If you look at the weekly Ichimoku cloud, it already punched through the weekly Ichimoku cloud. And right now it's doing a perfect back test of the Ichimoku cloud. So it looks like it's maybe a little bit more primed to kind of go up as opposed to like Nike. And you also look at it's also reclaimed the boring support band here, right? Whereas Nike kind of is trying, but it's not really quite doing that. When you have, the stocks like Target is really doing that. And I think a lot of these like dividend paying stocks, probably majority of them have more or less bottomed, especially if you're thinking like why Nike has been down for so long is maybe because of like the Chinese scare, right? Well, Chinese stocks just kind of went up a lot higher. We're going to talk a little bit more about China too here in a little bit. I know somebody have made some requests for that too, but it just looks like inverted head and shoulder. It just looks like it wants to kind of, reclaim the Ichimoku cloud as support and just go up a lot higher, turn from resistance to support, right? These things are generally very, very bullish. So I'm not bearish on Target. I think it's going to go up a lot higher. And if I have to choose between Target and Nike right now, like I would probably choose Target, but I'm not really personally that interested in getting into either of these stocks. So the one stock that has been capturing a lot of imagination is Palantir. I haven't really talked about Palantir since that video that I was talking about when price was around like 35 or 36. I thought that a lot of people are really looking at the gap down here on the weekly. They think that's probably going to close the gap. I'm like, I don't know if it's going to do that. The reason why I say that is because I haven't really seen Palantir doing GME. That's another stock that I'll add to my list here. I haven't really seen any impulsive price action like what Palantir is doing right now. Like the upper Bollinger Band just looks like on the weekly, so like ones just keep on expanding, and I haven't really seen that since like over here. So I think that there's a lot of like escape velocity. I think that even on the monthly here, it's doing something absolutely insane, which is finally having candles kind of way outside the upper Bollinger Band, maybe a second one in a row here so far. And the low Bollinger Band actually looks a little bit, just flat. But if this thing just keeps on going up to like the 50s, I think it might end up dragging this down, and that could actually set up something crazy here. Whenever you see something like this, I don't want to bet against it, just like you wouldn't want to bet against Nvidia whenever it does this thing, right? The question is, where is Palantir going to find resistance? The answer is, I don't think Palantir cares. that's the I don't think Palantir cares. That's the thing. This is the a log chart, and this is the logarithmic Fibonacci level. So these are retracement level. These are the extension. Actually, no, this is the linear scale. So these are the linear scale Fibonacci levels. So the way I see it, and also the great Masby have also agree with me. I agree with him a lot on a lot of things, which is kind of sickening. But I think both him and I agree. Like initially, I was the one that was saying, "Yeah, I don't know. It's probably going to push a lot higher last month," and he's like, "Well, it's underneath the 0.786. Let's just kind of watch it and see what it does." And the last month ended up closing above the 0.786. That would be an indicator that the stock may want to go to previous all-time high and beyond. It probably won't be a straight line up. If it goes a straight line up, then you're going to end up getting more punishment later. But this is a runaway train. Like I don't want to get in the way of this. I think it's going to hit 45, and I think it's probably potentially just going to push right through it. It could potentially find some resistance up above here a little bit higher. It's really, really, really hard to say because it is very overextended, not just on the Bollinger standpoint, but also on the Ichimoku standpoint. Like it's just way above the Tenkan over here. Like I don't know whether or not this is necessarily sustainable, but it can go up a lot higher. Tenkan can catch up and eventually end up having some pretty brutal correction here. We'll worry about that when it gets there, right? But at this point, I'm gonna keep holding on to my shares and then see what happens. Especially if the Bollinger Band ends up expanding on the monthly, then I really want to see when the Bollinger Band ends up contracting again. And that might be the point where I'm like, okay, it's getting a little bit toppy. The trend's getting a little bit exhausted. I'm not sure about this anymore. But at this point right now, I think Palantir just wants to keep going because retail wants to buy lower, and they're not letting you to do that. So, yeah, I that's kind of what I'm thinking about Palantir. Now, if you're asking about where price could go in terms of where the resistance could be, I just show you like the previous all-time high could be potentially a little bit of resistance. But based on Fibonacci, I don't think the resistance is going to be that strong until it gets to like the 1.618, like $69. If you want to draw again here, I'm going to use a magnet here to kind of show a little bit of a thing here using that. I'm going to use like 360. I'm going to change that number to like 1. You can see that Palantir is still kind of in space here, right? It looks like it might, and it looks like it's got a really good market symmetry here. Like this arc here means something, back tested the arc, pushed through, got rejected at the arc, pushed through the arc, and got rejected here, but was able to push through in like August 5th when everybody was freaking out, push through the horizontal zone, and right now it looks like it wants to grab it up towards the arc up here. We're just going to be around like 50, like somewhere around like the low 50s to maybe like the high 50s. Somewhere around here is probably going to be where price going to end up landing up before having any potential like strong resistance. But I'm not sure. I mean, it could certainly hit the previous all-time high and end up getting stalling here, right? I don't know exactly what it's going to do. To me, it doesn't matter. To me, I think the path is going to 1.618, which is the which is $69. And it's not because I like the number 69, it's just what the number shows, right? I think it's going to get up there. The path where it gets up there, I don't care. And I think it's going to happen in 2025. Some people even think that it's going to get up to like $100 in like 2025. I'm not sure whether or not it gets up there. I don't want to be too entirely bullish, because that will take a lot of forward PE expansion together with it, and you're going to end up being punished hard for years after that. But it's possible. That's why I'm not going to like sell my shares. If I was going to sell my share, we'll see how it reacts up here. We'll see how the monthly Bollinger Band goes, and we kind of take it from there, right? But that's my thoughts on Palantir. Somebody asked about SOFI. I really don't have a whole lot of update when it comes to SOFI. Like, it's just basically doing what I thought it was going to do, which is to break above this arc up here, right? And it's also breaking above the weekly Ichimoku cloud over here, right? This is the first week for a very long time since it's able to break above the weekly Ichimoku cloud. And when it does that, that's basically mean that one resistance level may be starting to really get broken here. And this is coincidental with the fact that you have the arc over here. So time was essential for this to happen right around here, and it did. The cloud's getting thin over here, which means resistance is getting thin, and you're able to kind of push above of that, which is a pretty good indicator that I think the next step is going to be around $10. And according to the scan, maybe around 10.2 or 10.3, somewhere around there to be precise. I think that's probably going to be the next level where it's going to gravitate to, which is the previous level over here where it got rejected from, right? It's probably going to get rejected this time, probably come back down. I would not be surprised if it hit the back test like $9, building up some energy before pushing up further. So, but yeah, I'm very, very bullish on SoFi. The question so far right now is not even so much like whether or not I'm bullish on SoFi, but the question is whether or not you make more money from SoFi compared to everything else. That's, to me, that's really the question. You can see that there's a bear market trend line here that gotten convincingly broken and back tested already. So this is like all of this stuff over here, just basically saying that it's primed for a breakout above. On top of all that, you also have an indicator here that I'm showing here, and I've talked, kind of extensively about this. You have a katana, which is when the blue line or conversion line or Tenkan, whatever you call it, and the red line, which is the baseline or Kijun, whatever you call it, they fuse together. And when they fuse together, it basically tells you that a big move is going to come. Now, where's the big move going to come? Depends on whether or not price is above or below, right? Price right now is above of this. So whenever it ends up going up, the katana is going to expand. And when the expansion happens, when the Tenkan, the blue, breaks above from the red, that's when a pretty big move can happen. And I think a big move is going to push all the way to like, $10, or 10.2, 10.3 to be precise, before really hitting any like major resistance there. Now, making my chart a little bit less busy here, I'm going to do the FIP levels to kind of show you in terms of where I think price could potentially end up going. And it really depends on whether or not you're doing it with linear or log. I'm going to do it from its all-time high to its all-time low. I'm going to do that. And what you see here is that where is the next important Fibonacci level? It's going to be around $10, right? The 0.236 is at essentially at $10. I do think that the next level, I do think it's going to break above $10 in 2025. And you're going to enter the arc over here. I actually think that the next important level, I've been talking about this for a long time. I was probably a little bit too bullish on it in 2023. I really think that it's going to hit like $14. $14 is a very, very important zone over here because it was serving as support here for the entire year. So it's probably going to be some pretty strong resistance up here, but I would not be surprised at all if SoFi ends up just laughing at the $10 mark over here and just goes straight to like 14. I would not be surprised at all if that happens. And when it happens, it can happen pretty quick because this is a stock that the bears took the stairs down and the bulls took the elevator up. Bears took the stairs down, bulls took the elevator up. Bears took the stairs down, maybe the bulls will take the elevator up again, right? So I'm not surprised by that, especially with the amount of shorts that are out there for the stock. That's kind of what I'm thinking now in terms of what I'm going to do. I did share that with my members on like a very, very brief members update on my portfolio. So I'm not going to talk too much about it here, but I'm pretty bullish about SoFi moving forward. So couple of other stocks here. GME, I do want to say I want to thank the the crazy GME community. I made a video on GME price action. I don't have a position in GME, but I made a GME video, and I think like it totally went viral on X. It just went crazy on X. Like I think it got like 200,000 views or something like that. Ridiculous. So I want to thank you all for that. I do want to say that by just looking at this Gann chart here, which is drawn mostly on the monthly here. I'm going to take that out here. On the monthly here, where if you just do a 180 and 10, which is pretty standard numbers you do for a Gann, from this low down here, it really gives you some very beautiful market symmetry. Now, it's still potentially at risk for coming down here to like 15 bucks. I keep talking about this. So that's why I'm like, hey, you got to stay objective here. It got rejected up here. If it goes down, it might gravitate down to like around the 15 bucks area over here, right? What is holding up GameStop right now? Why is it not going down there so far? Well, a couple of reasons. One is because the 20-month moving average has been served as very, very decent support, and you have a very nice tweezer bottom over here. I think right now it's just kind of going down here. I think this might end up just being a little bit of a wick. I do see this being a positive trend change, and that's probably going to be very, very powerful when it plays out, especially if the increase in global liquidity plays out. I think it's probably going to end up pushing out above, just like how it did over here when you have a 20-month average flipping from light resistance here to support. You basically have the same thing, but this cycle is just a lot slower, right? You have resistance here, flipping and support here. You have resistance here, flipping and support here, right? But this cycle is just a lot slower. So a lot of people may be a little bit more disillusioned. I'm not saying that it's going to work out, but I'm just saying that that's what I'm seeing. And then another reason why it's not dropping below bound to like 15 bucks is because it's holding on the weekly Ichimoku cloud. It has been using Ichimoku cloud here as support for the last couple months, and I was hoping this week it would start to reclaim the weekly Tenkan, the blue line over here, from resistance to support. And it looked like it was kind of doing that the week before, but it really wasn't able to do it this week. So we'll see what happens after that. And I'm just gonna let it do its thing here. You do have a cloud here. You might be at risk for breaking underneath the cloud, but the cloud is thin. So if it ends up just making a very crazy move, it can just probably push through the cloud like it's butter. The the whole thing is that there's no volume. So all of this is crap. Like all this price action here is just crap. Let me drink some water here. So yeah, because there's really not much volume here to be spoken of, I think that all it takes is just a little bit of volume for price could potentially explode because it's holding the weekly Ichimoku cloud support very, very well. I think if it ends up exploding, it's probably going to end up supporting to the upside. Another thing I've been watching too is over the last few weeks, because you did end up having price kind of oscillating around the buoyant support band. I think that this area over here is very, very similar to this area over here, where you have a little bit of like a false breakout, but you ultimately end up going down a lot further. Here, I think you might have a little bit of a false breakdown, because if you look at this, like this very impulsive price action that happened from April to May, have really turned the buoyant support band from more or less negative sloping to really truly positive sloping here. So there's a little bit of behavioral change, and this fits the 20-month moving average here as well. So because of this behavioral change, and because it's been mostly forming higher high, and right now we've just been putting a higher low over here, I do think that this is maybe a little bit of fake out to the downside, like a little bit of fake out here to the upside. And I do think that most likely once volume actually comes in, it's going to push back up, and it's going to flip that from like resistance here to support here, which is what it's been doing over the last like 8 or 9 weeks. So I am still pretty bullish on GME, even though I don't have a position. And I want to thank you all for like making my GME video viral. I don't know, even on like YouTube, I think it got like over 2,000 views, which is amazing. If it ends up finding support here on a weekly Ichimoku cloud, and if it ends up having some additional volume to come in, if the volume is there, I think you could push through the arc over here like it's butter. It's probably going to get up to like up here around like the 75 zone. You also have a little bit of a resistance here on the Ichimoku cloud as well, where it got rejected last time. So I think we have to back test that around $61. If you're able to push back above, you're talking about 75. If you're able to push back 75, you're talking about the arcs up here. You're talking about like, the 170s to 200s, somewhere up here. And it could potentially end the cycle. It could potentially end the cycle up here around like 360s. It can potentially go up here to like 700s. I don't know, right? Or it could just end up getting rejected here at the cloud if there's not enough global liquidity. If this is all just a charade, if the whales are just already exiting, even though this is like a nice higher high here compared to all these highs over here, even though this is like a nice higher low here compared to this low over here. But even though there's a lot of inside candles over here, 40 something inside candles over here to this big giant green candle over here, which means that the primary trend is up, right? Which means that if we're able to break above this candle over here, it's probably going to be a continuation of this primary trend, which is the uptrend. So there are a lot of things they're pointing to, which to me that I think is probably going to end up hitting so many targets up above here. I just don't know is the rally going to start like 61, 75, 180s, 200s, or 300s, 700s. Like there's no way for me to tell for sure. I just don't know. I don't want to be crazy and say it's going to hit like 4 digits. Like I think that's very highly unlikely for it to do that, just because like the market cap, things like that. I just don't think it's like that likely. But yeah, I'm just gonna be conservative. Downside risk is around 15, upside risk around 61 and 75 for now. We'll talk about what happens after that. But I don't think it's going to stay sideways forever. I think a big move is going to come down first and up, or up. I do not know, right? Most likely it's going to go up because of the 20-month moving average is serving as really decent support. Whenever you have 20-month moving average really curling and serving as support, generally it's going to go up. Like that's just kind of what I'm seeing here. So, all right. So far so good. I'm going to go straight into a couple other requests here too. Somebody asked about a hot stock here, HIMS. I'm not going to go too much into it. All I have to say is it just looks like a big giant cup and a handle. It looks like it wants to go higher. It just got rejected here at the previous all-time high. And it looks like it's primed to go higher. The reason why I say that is because you have the necessary correction here. Price just closing above the upper Bollinger Band on a monthly for too many months in a row. And it finally just kind of needed a correction. That's exactly what it is. The correction was happening in the sense that it was just kind of basically a little bit too far overextended from the Tenkin, from the blue line and the Kijun down here. So basically just came back out down here, back tested it, found support. Now it's back above the Tenkin. There's nothing bearish about this chart. It's already broke inside the premature cloud. This is leading span A over here. So it looks like it's primed to go higher. How much higher you say? I don't know for sure, but you can speculate here by maybe doing a little bit of a Fibonacci retracement level. I do think that's probably going to challenge the previous all-time high here again around $25. After that, I can see potentially a little bit of resistance around 28, but ultimately 1.618 is probably going to be where it's going to go sometime maybe around 2025, 2026. I do not know the exact path to that, but I'm not going to bet against this stock here. If you look at the weekly chart, it does look like it's still trying to battle some things here. He had a little bit of a bearish cross over here, kind of getting a little bit rejected here by the Kijun. And you also have the price after hours, after his news about his inclusion to the S&P 600. I think price went up to like around 18.5, which is exactly at the top of this bull support band resistance, right? So it might still need to kind of work up a little bit of its technicals here, but it was able to break about the 0.786 and close about this 0.786 with a couple weeks of candles above that. Then I think it's going to push through the previous all-time high. It's going to probably hit like $39. That's probably where I'm thinking HIMS would go. This is a very nice bullish chart on a higher time frame on the monthly, but on the weekly, it still looks like it's trying to work out its technicals before it goes up higher. And that's kind of what I'm thinking about HIMS. Going to keep it short here. The other stocks, I think you guys have some requests here. Somebody mentioned about Doximity. Is Doximity public now? I don't even know that is okay. So Doximity, wow, it's been public for a while. I actually didn't know that it is. I wonder about the market cap of this stock over here. It's not a small market cap either. It's got like an 8 billion market cap. Wow, I didn't know that they went public. you guys are, man, like bombarding me with requests. I love it. I'm gonna go through this real quick here. Just looking at the um, weekly Shimoku, it broke through the weekly Shimoku here back in August, and it just hasn't looked back since. Right. The question is always, are we overextended? The answer is yes. We're a little bit overextended from the Tenkin. We have the bullish crossover here, but we're a little bit overextended from the Tenkin. How is it looking from the Bollinger standpoint? A little bit overextended from the Bollinger standpoint here as well. So I would never really want to bet against something like this when the monthly Bollinger Band is just expanding like this. But you do have a little bit of declining volume last month too, right? That's something to consider here. And you also potentially are hitting some, important zone of resistance here. I haven't charted this, so I don't really know. I'm gonna like basically just throw a FIB level in right now. I can potentially see it hitting maybe a little bit higher, like the 0.382, around like 53 or something like that, to end up having a lot of major correction here. Just because I think this move right here is going to help expand Bollinger Band, but you don't want it to be like too overextended either. So I can potentially see it hitting maybe over the next month or two or three, the 0.382, maybe like $53 before seeing any potential major correction. I'm actually interested in this stock. Like this is a pretty interesting play here. Let me throw in the GAN here because I can. And I'm not going to do take too long to do this. But yeah, it's a bullish chart. I don't have anything. The only question is whether or not it's overextended. So I'm going to basically take a look at maybe 180 and then look at 1 and then see what happens. It looks like it broke above. Does this have a good market symmetry? Yeah, it does. It got rejected here at the horizontal, came back down, hugged the arc, broke through the arc, got rejected here at the arc over here, pushed through to the angle, hugged the angle. Right now, it just can't push through here. So yeah, where's it going to go to? Around $50. I can totally see it going $50 because it's really looking at the arc here like it's nothing. And if it gets there, probably gonna come back and back test some of this stuff down here below. Maybe at the FIB levels, maybe at like the arc angle over here. But yeah, I think it's probably going to grab it up to like 50, 53. We'll see. So very interesting. Frog Dog is one of my newer members, and you want to look at Gold's future. So let's look at it. Gold's future. Is there a ticker that might be the best for that? I know GLD, but if I type in Gold's Gold futures, let's see what pops up here. Is GC maybe, or just gold? Let's look at. Well, gold is Mexican money, so let's look at this. Let's look at gold. Wow, yeah. I mean, it basically had already broken out here. I think the key thing is don't bet against the global liquidity. I really don't have much to say because we really recently have GC1. Yeah, this is it. Okay, good. Yeah, you basically this is what's happening. This is what's happening. You have a breakout of the AM2 global liquidity, and this makes total sense too, right? You have a breakout of this global liquidity index, and you basically have the same thing that's happening to gold. You have a breakout of that, and you also I hate the magnet here, and you also have a breakout of this horizontal zone over here. Like there's really no mystery in terms of what gold is doing. And I guess the question is, how far can gold up? Is it going to keep going up? Well, it depends if the gold liquidity is going to keep on going up. Halo gains, welcome. Yeah, depends whether or not global liquidity is going to keep going up. I think it will, and I think gold is probably going to go a lot higher. The question is whether or not it's overextended. And the answer, without even like looking at the indicators, the answer is yes, it is overextended, because looking at how far it is away from the Ichimoku on declining volume, and also just how far is it away from the Bollinger Band. It's like closing up on the, like above the upper Bollinger Band for the last like 7 out of 8 months, right? So it's not entirely healthy, and whenever it does that, sometimes you end up having some pretty brutal sideways correction that can happen for months, even during these very parabolic bull trend, even during this very parabolic bull trend that happened in the last like 2 decades ago. You can still have some pretty punishing moves, like they can go sideways for months, right? And here, whenever it gets so overextended, you can go sideways here for like 2 or 3 years, like 2 years over here, right? So I'm probably not going to chase it, although it looks very, very, very bullish. I'm probably not going to chase that. If you ask me where I would find some resistance here, I always like to look at the FIB retracement. And for this, I do need the magnet here, looking at this high and looking at this low down here. It could potentially hit the 2.618. So a lot of people think that the FIB levels are like mad, like astrology. Like none of this make any sense. It's just things that we just kind of make up. Look at how nicely like it got rejected here at the 1.618 for like 3 months in a row, right? You're able to push through that. So the next area where it gravitates to is probably going to be the 2.618, which I think is probably going to be a pretty strong resistance level up here. So I think that if you're trading it, I mean, like if you're holding it, that's a different story. If this is like a part of what we want to hedge against, like money printing things, so that's a different story. But if you're trading it, I think maybe the 2.618 level around 2,850 might be a good area. Even now, it looks a little bit toppy. Like you got a little bit of trees. I mean, granted, the month has just started, so I'm not gonna like say too much about it. I think it's probably likely to go to $2,850 before any major resistance. Now, if you're looking at the GAN, I'm curious about the GAN here too because I haven't really looked at gold here for like at all. If you look at the, I'm gonna just like slap a quick GAN square here just to see what I see, and I want the GAN to be right at the bottoming candle over here so I can get the best market symmetry here. And I'm going to go back out here. I'm going to try to do this as fast as possible. 1440 is the number that I'm going for in terms of duration. There you go. I'm going to change that to 10. And you can see based on this, it has a pretty decent market symmetry here, doesn't it? Hugs the arc down, push through the arc, went to the next arc, backtest the arc, backtest the horizontal here, got rejected here at the angle, and hugged the arc down, broke through the arc, and where did it find resistance at the horizontal zone over here? Like I did not do this before coming on. Like I have not looked at gold like at all. Where is price going to gravitate up to on here? It looks like it might end up getting up here to around like the 3,000s range, around like 3,000, 3,010, 3,100 or something like that. And you're probably going to end up having some sideways action just because it's going to be a pretty important resistance level, right? It could push through that and it can go up to like 3,500 somewhere up there, kind of like how it did over here. And I'm just going to kind of going sideways here, but just look at this like beautiful market symmetry here. Yeah, Pumpkin already did like GME. I'm probably gonna I'll timestamp these things here, but I think price might end up gravitating up towards either like 2050. I was showing you a very important fit level, or this arc up here, just because of market symmetry, which is going to be like close to around 3,000. And 3,000 is also going to be a very strong psychological level. So I can totally see it hugging the arc at around 3,000 here for quite some time, while all the other things just end up pushing up. Even for the last cycle, around I want to say like around 2020, going up all the way to like from January, February, March, all the way up to like August. Even for the last bull cycle, gold was one of the first movers, and then it just kind of went like sideways after that, right? Everything else pumped in like 2021, but not gold. So I think that is probably going to do the same thing. It's probably going to be an early pumper. Got a lot of people really excited when gold gets up to like 3,000, and everything else is probably going to pump, and it might end up correcting sideways. So that's what I think about gold's future, my friend. Let's talk about some of your other requests here after I take a sip of water, because I am thirsty when I keep talking for about the last 38 minutes. I am back. Some of y'all's requests, I have no idea what this is. I can't even find NIGA on here. Yeah, so sorry. If it goes by a different ticker, please let me know. MDGL. No idea what this is, but it looks bullish. I have no idea what this is, but it looks bullish. Right off the bat, like, do you know why I think it's bullish? Because I mean, it's like I don't know, for some reason they really don't want things to kind of push about this horizontal zone over here. I do not know why, but they just don't want things to kind of push above over here. Um, yeah, thanks, low gains. Yeah, I love SoFi. But yeah, I mean, just this reminds me of what Fetch AI was doing, I guess. Uh, let's see. This reminds me of what like Fetch AI was doing before it broke out. Like it's just been like that for years. Let me see if I can find like a even longer higher. Yeah, let's do that. This reminds me like what Fetch AI was doing. It's just like they got big giant horizontal zoom that's been like rejecting for years, and next thing you know, when it breaks through, all hell breaks loose, right? So that's what it kind of reminds me of in terms of MDGL. It just looks like it's trying to break through the zone, and when it does, it's gonna be pretty fun. Now, I don't even need any other indicators. Looking at the monthly Shimoku is broken above the monthly Shimoku. It's kind of back tested a little bit, so I think we're just basically priming to use this consolidation here to kind of break through about that area. When you're weekly, it's gonna just basically oscillate around the cloud here. It doesn't really bother me all that much, but I think like higher time frame, it looks pretty decent. Higher time frame, you look at the 20-month moving average, you do have a little bit of trouble here because you are kind of breaking down underneath below the 20, and 20 is kind of pointing down a little bit. So, but all of this is basically more sideways action for a longer time frame. I think longer time frame, it looks like it wants to push through the area here, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, you got a lot of resistance here, just kind of solving sideways here. So I probably won't get into this. I probably won't even touch it until there's any like convincing breakout of like the zone around 340, somewhere around there. But I probably wouldn't like, even touch it. Even on the lower time frame, it looks like it's not ready yet. On the weekly, it doesn't look like it's ready yet. On the bonus support band on weekly, it doesn't look like it's ready yet on the Ishimoku. But on a higher time frame, it looks like it might be primed for something big to happen. It's just not going to be next week. It's not going to be next month. It's probably not going to be even in 2024. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing here. I would definitely spend more time on the miners here. And man, you guys are kind of bombarded on all of this request here. I do think that in the reason you know why you think that ASTS is getting rejected. And again, I hate just to like just use all these GAN to say, oh, it's because it fit my GAN. But this is literally like a weekly GAN chart here, 180 and 1. And whenever things get like parabolic up here, where's the next resistance level? Well, this is it. You're basically getting rejected here at the arc, and you're trying to break through the arc. Let's hope it gets back up above the arc, right? Looks like it might want to. It looks like it's just maybe a little bit of a consolidation, a little bit of bull flag over here. Let's hope that it breaks back above, right? And on the weekly Ichimoku, I guess you are having a little bit of a Kijin down here. So that like $20 could potentially be the level that you need if you need further support. I'm not sure if it needs it, but it's there if it needs it. Bonus support band is also rising. So around like $20 is going to be a very, very strong support zone for it. But yeah, this losing steam here, again, rejected here as expected. Do I think that the cycle is over for like ASTS? No, I don't think so. I think it's probably going to make another prime move up a little bit further. Why do I say that? It's because I'm not really seeing the lower Bollinger Band here on the monthly crawling up quite just yet. I don't think this trend's exhausted. This is a really, really strong bull trend. And it's just basically been consolidating because you have candles number 1, 2, 3, and 4 way above the monthly Bollinger Band. When I was charting this back in like early September, I was like, I see what you guys are saying is a bull trend. You're probably going to end up getting like punished in the short term. But I do think that it's going to be some bullish continuation moving forward, just because the lower Bollinger Band hasn't really started crawling up yet. There's not really any sign that this trend has really completely exhausted. Probably going to go up higher, but like you might not have as much meat left on the bone from like $2 over to over to like 40, right? I think the meat on the bone might be like another like triple, maybe up to the arc up here, around like 60s and maybe 70s up here. And I think that might end up being the trend exhaustion, and that might be the top. It could even surprise me and go up to like the hundreds. I don't know, but I can totally see that it may be another like 2 or 3x pushing up to here before the entire trend just kind of get really exhausted here. So let me see. You guys want me to thanks Vivian for suggesting suggesting that low gains. I can take a look at RIVN and Lucid here for you, and I will tell you exactly what I think about these charts. Which the truth is, I think that Lucid actually is not as bad as you would imagine it to be, because it looks like it wants to reclaim this 10 confirmed resistance here to support, and it really hasn't done that ever since this wick here in January 2023. So there might be something there. Now, am I going to buy Lucid? No, because you got a very strong negative sloping 20-month moving average. I would want to see how it reacts to the 20-month moving average before I even touch Lucid. This might be the atom. If this is the bottom, there's no guarantee it's a bottom, right? They're losing money like crazy, but they also have a lot of like Saudi money going in like a lot of institutional interest. So if they end up bottoming, this is a technical bottom, this might be the atom, and the eve is going to be where it battles the negative sloping 20-month moving average, and to flip that from negative sloping to flat, right? That's going to be a potential eve if it ends up bottoming. I'm not sure if it bottoms or not. I want to see how it reacts to negative 20, because it can just basically like Will Smith, like on Chris Rock, and just slap it down and probably just keep on going down further. That's always a possibility. But I want it to interact with the negative sloping 20-month moving average to see what it does. RIVN also is not that bad looking to me, because this is exactly what I mean, right? You want to see how price react to a negative sloping 20-month moving average. And RIVN has touched it more often than Lucid. It's touched it here in December 2023, touch it again in July, touch it again in August. Not ready yet, right? End up coming down. Now, the question is whether or not this is going to be a higher low compared to here. And if that is, then you might actually start to have a little bit of a trend change here. Now, the reason why actually I'm not that entirely bearish on RIVN is also this. If there is and I'm not talking about fundamentals at all, I would not buy RIVN because I don't really, want to say I'm at the point where I believe that their business model is turning around, because they're losing a bunch of money every single time they sell a car. But if you're asking, is there anything that makes me think, this might be a falling knife that I might be willing to catch on a technical basis? The answer is yes, because of a bullish divergence on the monthly here, right? And you can see that the bullish divergence is playing out. It pushed the price up higher, and you continue to have RSI kind of trending up here, even though it's like way down here, like the 30s. So the momentum is still going to be more favoring downwards. But you have a lot of like these bullish momentum here building up here. So I would not get into RIVN. Again, that's the lesson learned, right? I'm not into RIVN, but if you are, and if you're like really bullish up here, and when they announce like the Volkswagen whatever partnership, if you buy this wick over here, you're getting punished for it, because it wasn't ready yet, because it's at the 20-month moving average. It just simply wasn't ready yet. So the let me see here. Yeah, so same thing with the Ichimoku, right? Like it looks like it might flip the Tenkan here from resistance to support, but the 20-month moving average is telling you that it's not ready yet. So it ends up getting slapped down. If you look at the weekly, now a lot of people were probably very excited about Volkswagen, and the RIVN deal or whatever. It didn't even hit the Ichimoku cloud and just ended up going down. I don't know. Like this whole move right here, I think it's just a technical move for this inverted head and shoulder. It just kind of hit the target they needed to hit, and after it just comes down, right? So I don't know how far it's going to go down, depending on where it goes. Is as long as it forms a little bit of higher low over here, I think it might have a little bit of hope for RIVN. But so far, I don't know about RIVN yet, quite just yet at this moment. So I will go through a couple. I'll go through another few chart requests here. Somebody requested TIGR is a Chinese stock, right? No, up fintech. I actually don't know that. Oh, maybe. Yeah, this is weird. What the? This is a weird chart. Okay, Somebody requested this, so I'm just gonna go through it real quick. This is weekly. It's broken through about the Ichimoku on the weekly here, and as a result, it had gotten really close to the leading span over here. And I think you're gonna have resistance up here coming up pretty soon. The leading span line, which is the bottom of an immature cloud, which is gonna be a very strong resistance, is at 12.73. I don't think it's gonna break through that anytime soon because we're just way overextended here. You cannot have a Bollinger Band. You cannot have like a candle just way outside of Bollinger Band, and when it's hitting like a major resistance here on the monthly cloud here, to for it to just kind of push through. I think it's probably gonna reject it. If it doesn't get rejected, then hey, then I'm wrong. Reason why I think it may not getting rejected, and why I might be wrong, and I am wrong all the time. So don't let me stop me from making money. The reason why I might be wrong is because of this. It's because the candle so far, this is a monthly candle, and it's only got like 5 days of price action. And this is a Marubasu candle. There's no wick above or below. If the month closes like this, and I'm not sure if it's going to because it's hitting some strong resistance here, but if the month closes like this, then you're talking about potentially bullish continuation, right? And just because it's overextended on the upper Bollinger Band doesn't mean it's not going to go up higher. It can go up a lot higher. It can push through that resistance level and go a lot higher because look at what happened over here, right? Way above the upper Bollinger Band here on the monthly, and it just kept on pushing up higher. Now, granted, the trend is really starting to get exhausted up here, but yeah, I mean, it can go a lot higher than what I'm showing you here. So don't let me stop you from making money. I just would not chase this right now. If I have the stock, which obviously I don't because I don't even know what it is. If I have the stock, I probably would hold on to it. Yeah, and I would have a hard choice to make because I can see the resistance level up here. I would have a hard choice to make, but I would probably hold on to it because I think that this is something that's extremely impulsive, and I don't want to bet against it right now. That's kind of my thinking on that. So, couple of other requests, and these are, I'm gonna just kind of go through here real quick. Poet Technologies, don't know what it is. Let's look at it from an objective standpoint. Is flipping the 20 month moving average from resistance to support, looking pretty decent. I think you got rejected up here on the upper Bollinger Band. It's not really quite made a higher high quite just yet. It also hasn't really made any higher lows yet. I think it's probably going to come back down to the 20 month moving average, which can be a pretty brutal correction if it ends up doing that. But that's why I think price is going to gravitate to. I think it's probably going to come back down. It's very confluent, right, to maybe the $3 range somewhere up here, which is going to be kind of closer to 20 month. I guess 20 month might up curl here a little bit. That you might end up having to backtest some of the support here before going to the cloud. I don't think it's just going to get up to the cloud because the upper Bollinger Band here is going to continue to be resistance. They just got rejected off of it right now. Probably going to come back down, backtest some of the stuff before going up higher, and that would be a higher low compared to overall trend, and that would actually not be a bad thing. But I can see that totally happening. On the lower time frame here, since 2024, it's just been forming higher highs and higher lows. Even if it comes back down a little bit down to the $3 range, it's not a bad thing. It's still a very nice bull trend. And again, another thing why it could potentially come back down is it broke through the cloud here, is yet to back test this level over here, right? I can see it back testing around 3.3 or even 3, maybe a little bit lower before bouncing up, and that would be a completely healthy thing. So yeah, if I am to looking at this stock, I probably wouldn't enter. I'll probably just kind of take a step back and just let it do its thing. If it doesn't end up hitting the support level, I'm not gonna get bothered by it and get upset about it. I'm just gonna let it go. But yeah, that's just my own risk assessment, risk tolerance. It's not financial advice to you at all. OOMA, I have no idea what this is either. Look at the weekly chart here. Looks like it's just been rejected here on the weekly Ichimoku cloud. But it looks like it wants to kind of maybe break through. All it has to do is just go sideways and you get back on top of the Ichimoku cloud, right? But there's also a risk for it to get rejected and go down back to the $10 range to backtest the Tengen over here before getting enough energy to kind of push through. It does look a little bit like a bull flag. So those are two scenarios: either broke through and go a lot higher, or it come back and get rejected and going back down to back test the taken down here. Regardless, on the lower time frame on the weekly is forming higher highs and higher lows. So even if it goes back down to like $10, I think that would be a potentially a pretty decent zone to buy. Or if it ends up bringing above, I think that there's a high chance that it end up come back down to like $11 to back test. So there are two scenarios here. It depends on your risk tolerance. If you if you're okay buying here, and if you don't mind it going back to like 10, then it might be a good zone because it looks like it wants to break out, but it's at resistance. Or you can just wait until it breaks resistance and you can buy the back test. That's kind of what I'm seeing here. On the higher time frame, it doesn't look like it's ready to break above yet because it's stuck between the Tengen and Kijun. The Kijun right here is around 11.6. So it's not ready to break above yet. It's just stuck in the range right now. And it's also hasn't really made like a true higher low yet. It also hasn't really made a true higher high yet. So this is probably not one that I would want to buy for a long term until I get some kind of confirmation. But to trade those moves, like those would be kind of what I'm thinking. If you're thinking about like the levels, let me turn on the magnet here. If you think about the levels, if you want me to like look into in terms of where price can go, if it breaks above the weekly Shimoku, you can hit like 13.52, or you can hit like the 0.5. I think the 0.5 might be a good area to take profit because of like a very, very important horizontal zone over here. But 0.382 could also be potentially where it gets rejected, right? Form a little bit of a lower high before it gets rejected. Another reason as to why I think that there might be a little bit of a resistance here to kind of pay attention to is because you also have a little bit of a negative trend line here. But actually, that looks pretty decent because it looks like I actually have a little bit of a breakout and back test here. So maybe a break through the weekly Ichimoku cloud. We'll see. But the biggest concern I have, just looking at this, biggest concern I have that it may not break through the Ichimoku cloud, and I would not enter this, is because the 20-month moving average is still negative sloping as resistance, and it's still resistance right now. I would like to see it maybe consolidating sideways here a little bit longer, work out its technicals, turn a 20-month moving average from resistance to support, and then I might be a little bit more bullish on it. So yeah, that's that for that request there. TGTX, man, you guys are hot with your request here. So I'm going to go through here real quick. Margin call, 20-month pointing up. I favor bullish continuation. Trend line, I guess there's still like a little bit of a trend line here that needs to be broken. But I can't draw today. Yeah, a little bit of trend line here that needs to be broken. But I think overall, because of rising 20, I favor this being something that would end up having some bullish continuation. The price has entered the Ichimoku cloud, so that's a good thing. It could hit the top of the Ichimoku cloud and get to like 30, and that would be a very strong resistance zone up here. Or it could end up gravitating down to like the lower part, like maybe like 19, 18, somewhere around there, to test the bottom of the cloud before bullish continuation. There's no way for me to tell exactly where it's going to go. But if I have to, yeah, even the 20, it can come back and back test the 20 here, right at the bottom of the cloud here. So there's no way for me to tell exactly which path it's going to take in the higher time frame. In the shorter time frame, I also don't know if it's going to keep going up here to like 30, or it's going to come back down to back test the 20 week here, right? Or the bull run support band. There's no way for me to tell for sure. So it's just kind of stuck in the middle. Look at Ichimoku. It does look favorable because it did break above the cloud and did back test the cloud here. So my best guess is maybe up to 30 now and get rejected there. But there's no guarantee because it can just kind of come back down, back test the Kijun down here to around like 20 before, further bullish continuation. I do think that, those are your risk level, like $20 and $30. I don't have much else to say about it. VKTX. Viking Therapeutics on the weekly chart looks like it's finally gravitated towards the Ichimoku cloud here. Looks like it's maybe using that as support to maybe push price higher from here on out. On the higher time frame, there's really nothing too bearish about it right now. Looks like the Tengen is serving as support, so I think it's looking pretty decent here. On the monthly, right? Even though people worry about overextension, but I never get really too worried about it until price like breaks down, right? What is your downside? Well, the downside is going to be a rising 20-month moving average. Right now, it's going to be around like 40. But I think that you have enough support here from the Ishimoku, like Tenkan and Kijun, that it may not get down there. I think you might have some bullish continuation moving up, and it might gravitate back up to like $90 up here. So those are kind of what I'm looking at. The downside risk may be like 40. Upside risk, which is a real risk, is like $90 where it challenges these highs up here again. You simply just need this cool down move because it's just way outside the monthly upper Bollinger Band. That's exactly what's been happening. So, yeah, I'm not bearish. Looking at a lower time frame, do I see anything? Yeah, it looks like it's flipping the 20 from resistance here to support here again on the 20 week. Doesn't look bad. Look at Ichimoku cloud again. Looks like it's finding support. So, if I had to choose, I think I favor going back to 90. I don't know what happens after that. So, man. Yeah, Matt, if you asked about FUBO, I've been paying attention. Not FUGO. What the heck is FUGO? I keep typing FUGO. Stop it. FUBO. If you ask me when it's time to buy FUBO, my answer to you is maybe not yet. I was tempted to buy when it was down here. It was forming like a pretty nice, double bottom over here. I was tempted to buy down here, but I didn't. Ultimately, went up to $2 and came back down correct. I would say that this looked more and more like it wants to form an Adam and Eve. Again, there's no confirmation that is the case. And you also got a little bit of a thicker cloud over here on the weekly, right? So I'm not sure it's just going to pierce through and just get up to like, like $3-4 range, which is going to be like the next resistance level. I think a lot of people will end up probably taking like some profits up here. And that's when you might end up going sideways and having a potentially, big breakout. Assuming that they don't go bankrupt, which doesn't seem like they are. I think FUBO would probably form an Eve bottom, but it would take time, maybe take another few quarters to break through this Ichimoku, doing its appropriate backtest, and get to like the $3-4 range up here. And then things might get fun, but you are talking about quite some time here before some confirmation. You're also talking about a lot of resistance here, which include the weekly Tenkan and Kijun around like 1.6 here. It wasn't able to flip from resistance to support. You just kind of broke underneath of it. And you also have a cloud up here around $2, so it's going to have a hard time kind of break above. Now, you can trade this move. You can trade from like $1.50 to $2, and that would be a very good, decent profit, but that would be more of like a trade. If you're talking about longer term, I'm not sure whether or not I'm convinced that it's like ready to go up yet. Because again, if you look at the 20-month moving average, it is turning a little bit more flat, right? But we are still getting rejected here. We're still getting rejected here in like August. So I'm not sure if it's ready yet. I think I want to see price kind of hover around like $2, maybe flip the 20-month moving average from resistance to support. And then I think that might signal, things would go a lot higher. And you have to catch these things fast too. Because if you don't catch these things fast, if it flips a 20 from resistance to support, like what Chinese stocks are doing, next thing you know, like in a month or two, it's just boom, boom, boom. It's just like went crazy. So I think that would be something to kind of look into, Matt. And that's kind of what I'm looking into. Yeah, XBI. Let's see. I'm going to drink some water here. I am a little bit worried about XBI short term because long term it looks great. Long term just looks like it wants to break above 100. Short term is hitting a lot of resistance here with the monthly Ichimoku. I would like to see it enter. Even if it enters, it might end up still going sideways and backtest the cloud here before pushing up to like 118, 120 range. But you did have a bullish crossover here, so it's probably going to favor challenging the cloud here. But you're hitting some pretty major resistance here, right? So that's something to kind of pay attention to. But in the longer term, I do think that it will probably push into the cloud and go higher because it's flipping the 21 moving average from resistance to support. Very nice back test here. So I think it's probably going to end up having some pretty decent, bullish continuation moving forward. This is a very big trend change. Like here, you use that as like support, but the trend's really exhausted. And then next thing you just broke down resistance, flip back into support. Like these things are bullish, but in the short term, I'm just worried that it might end up hovering around the cloud here. What you mean get inside the cloud and just kind of hovering around the bottom of the cloud underneath $100 before pushing up higher. I don't know when that's going to be. Looking at the small time frame, it does look like it's maybe building up some energy to go up higher because you do have a nice expansion of the Tengen and Kijun. It does look like it's finding support here. The Tengen here might go up a lot higher, but higher time frame you still have like some short term resistance here to be a little bit worried about. But I think price is going to go higher. You just have to have patience. You imagine if it breaks into the cloud and it gets up to like 120 by like the mid or end of 2025. That's still a pretty big move up. So a lot of the stocks in XPI is going to do pretty well if that ends up happening. So, man, I just went through like all your requests. I will get to actually PYTH. Okay, I'm going to do PYTH and I'm going to talk about Bitcoin and miners. Actually, I can't find PYTH, so sorry. I don't know what it is. Okay, Bitcoin. Let's not mess around with it anymore. Bitcoin, where do I think it's going? I think Bitcoin is doing very well. I think it's doing fantastic. I think it's gone sideways for about 8 months. It's really pissing a lot of people off, and I love it. It's finding support here on the monthly Tenkan. On the weekly here, it had bounced from the Ichimoku cloud around 53,000, and since then it formed like three white soldiers here, just basically doing a little bit of backtest here in Tenkan, or sorry, the Kijun over here. So far as holding, I think there's a lot of support here to really hold the price up higher, including the Borean support band, including the Tsubishi cloud, including all these Tenkan Kijun of the Ichimoku and Tsubishi cloud. So you just have a confluence of support zone over here. I just have a hard time seeing it really just breaking through, slicing it like butter, just like it did before. Because before you didn't really have the confluence of these support zones, right? Right now you really have like a bunching of these resistance flipping into support over here. So I am bullish on Bitcoin moving forward. I've made a post. I think that even if price end up going down to like 60K or 61K, it might just turn out to be a wick. And so far, that's what it might be doing. Price will close tomorrow in about 23 hours. We'll see how the weekly candle closes. But as long as if it closed the way it does right now, I'm not that bearish. I think it might close above that even. But yeah, I mean, it's got a bunch of support there. I am remaining bullish. I do think that there's a lot of similarities between the current price over here and the price action over here in terms of like a 6-month consolidation period. Like this is actually 7-month consolidation period. Is kind of what we're experiencing. The same thing here. This cycle looks like it just wants to do this before the next leg up. And a lot of people think that this is wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is going to end up being like 100,000. That's probably going to be it. I think it's going to go a lot higher than people expect because I just don't believe this is necessarily like 3, 4, and 5. Although a lot of like Elliott wave technicians that look into Bitcoin think that that's the case, and I respect them a lot, but I just have my own reasons to believe that it'll probably go up a lot higher. Bollinger Band hasn't even expanded yet. Every single time when you have a Bitcoin cycle, you end up having a little bit of initial expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction, and then you have the real expansion. What I mean by that here, same thing, right? You have the expansion, contraction, a little bit of expansion or contraction, and then a real move, right? Here, same thing, expansion, contraction, and then a real move, right? So really haven't even had like any euphoria yet. So I think it's gonna minimally gravitate up towards the upper Bollinger Band here around like 80,000, and then after that we'll see. I think something very impulsive is probably going to happen with Bitcoin, but I just don't know when it will happen. There's nothing really to invalidate that that's going to happen so far. So yeah, we'll see. If you're looking at lower time frame stuff, I mean, these are just not going to be as reliable right now. It's just kind of consolidating sideways here. I can put up the Ichimoku cloud here on the daily. It's basically squeezed between the range of the Tenkan and Kijun. So I don't know which direction it's going to take. Could it come back down and back test like 59K? And that's possible. Could it break through the Tenkan up here and then go through and make a higher high up here? Because what it's really been doing is just been forming a higher high here and a higher low over here, relatively speaking, right? Higher high compared to over here. So I think the short-term trend is up. Like I cannot really be that bearish on Bitcoin anymore. But the short-term price action is going to form a higher low over here compared to here. Maybe, I don't care. Like at this point, I think the miners are telling me I think Bitcoin's probably bottomed around here and around here, because miners' reactions have actually been pretty good over the last couple of days. We're going to talk more about Mara, CleanSpark, and all the miners, because I always do that. That's my most exciting thing. No matter how bad the price actually is, I gravitate back to those miners. But just looking at the daily, it's not really telling me a whole lot. I think weekly is telling me more that I think this is going to be okay. If you want me to look at a lower time frame and look at an AR chart in terms of what I'm seeing here, stuck inside a cloud, you can go to the top or bottom. Like I don't really know which way it's going to move, so it's not too helpful in terms of saying that, because I don't know which way it's going to move. I'm just going to stay quiet on the short term price action of Bitcoin. But long term, I think is having some pretty decent character change here. I think that is gonna have very, very, very similar explosive move potentially coming maybe over the next few weeks or so. I think something big is probably gonna happen. So Bitcoin miners. I'm gonna drink some water before I get there. All right, back hydrated because I don't want to lose my voice, do I? This scan over here was, I think it was drawn on the monthly. Let me just double check here. Yeah, it's drawn on the monthly. So I'm going to go to the monthly here to start with. I always start with CleanSpark because that's what I'm most interested in right now. And I thought that CleanSpark was going to find the support zone last month, and I think that that was going to hold. The Great Masby also thought that all miners, for the most part, have found a bottom, and I'm looking at the same thing. So there's a lot of like confluence. I don't know how much you guys like the Great Masby. Maybe he's not that great. Whatever. The guy is pretty smart. So, but when he said things look bottom, I agree. I think there is something to be said about that. A lot of miners are holding 0.5 fit level. And a lot of miners are holding either like a strong horizontal zone over here or like an arc over here. And CleanSpark looking like, it's got some really beautiful market symmetry here. When I do the can here, 360 and 1, which is standard numbers to put in, you can see like, some pretty beautiful market symmetry here. And it's just looked like it was going to hold this 0.5 Fibonacci and also going to hold this arc over here, right? Looking at the Ichimoku, it got rejected up here. It didn't really quite hit the arc up here because of strong monthly Ichimoku resistance. So we had to come back down here. We really did end up breaking through the 0.5. I mean, I guess we didn't really have the this might have been a back test over here. I just decided to come back and back test it again, which is fine. This is a higher low compared over here. This is a higher high, so there's still a very nice bull trend. I think that whenever it's done its thing, it's going to have some bullish continuation. The other thing too is like pretty much a lot of the miners I look at, including Mara, and I'm going to show you this here real quick. It's still flipping the 20-month moving average from resistance here to support. It's still testing in support across the great number of miners, and I'm just going to show you real quick here because I'm going to bundle them all. I'm not going to just do individual analysis because I want to show you what the landscape is happening, right? 20-month moving average on CleanSpark, support, right? 20-month moving average on Mara, support, right? Look at all these wicks, right? Very nice wicks. 20-month moving average on Bitfarms, support, right? 20-month moving average on CIFR, support, right? 20-month moving average on IREN, didn't even touch it. Use that support over here as it as it was trying to develop a bull trend. They even come back and back test it. WULF, look at how bullish this is. You wonder why WULF was lagging behind last week. Is because it's more bullish than everything else. And it just needed to cool down more than everything else, right? They even come back here and touch the 20. BTBT is it's also using the 20-month moving average and turn it from resistance here to support, right? Cores, I don't really have enough price action to show that. RIOT though, here I'll show you RIOT. The reason why I'm not in RIOT is because it's underneath of that. Like it doesn't even look like it is anywhere near. But now, with that said, I think it's probably going to end up grabbing up here. If you want to use RIOT as a trade, you want to like capture the move from $7 all the way to like like 11. I think the move is there, and that could be potentially a lot of gains. But longer term, it might end up continue to lag behind. I don't know. Even HUD 8 has flipped the 20 from resistance to support. This is what you're seeing here in like all the miners. And this is also what you're seeing here in terms of the Gann chart here on a lot of the monthly Gann that I'm drawing, and also with the Fibonacci that I'm drawing. You're seeing like support here at the arc for CleanSpark, support here at the support here at the horizontal zone over here, right, for Mara. And I drew this arrow here, but don't worry about it. I'm not that deterministic. But look at how nice this horizontal zone over here has been for Mara. It looks like on the linear is the 0.136 is the level. If I do a log scale, it's basically doing the same thing as what CleanSpark is doing. It's also holding a 0.5, right? It's also holding a 0.5. They're basically very, very similar. All of these miners are very, very similar. And I also want to look at the magic of the 20-month moving average. I do think that we're at the spot here. They're very, very similar to over here. And I think that the sideways has just been really, really a painful move to flush out the big move in the euphoric sentiment that went from $3 all the way up to like 35. This move over here did it. You want to deleverage, you want to get the people out. This move over here did it. Over here, not many people really knew what Mara was, and it was a lot easier to kind of push price up a lot higher. But over here, it looks like we're getting primed for a higher move to go up. How high do I think it's going to go? We'll talk about that later. Yeah, but I just think that a lot of these are doing very, very similar things. Looking at the Gann is finding some pretty important support zone over here, together with Fibonacci here too, right? Bitfarm, same thing. Back test the arc over here, back to 0.5, right? CIFR, same thing. It's actually a little bit more bullish with CIFR because it's actually hitting the 0.618, which is a very important level to hold. Came back down, back test the arc over here, bounced, right? IREN is also one of the more bullish one. Came back down, back test the arc here, passed. It's holding the 0.618. So one of the higher time frame, more bullish one, like CIFR actually looks great. IREN actually looks great. WULF, because of how far it plummeted down, like right now, I guess we're still hovering underneath the 0.5, which is why you're getting a hard time kind of push above, because you're at the arc over here as resistance, and because you also have the 0.5 over here as resistance, and because you're still trying to digest this big giant move all the way from like 50 cents all the way up to like $6.5 somewhere around here. You're trying to digest this more than 10x move sideways for a few months. What's the big deal, right? Underneath resistance of the 0.5, underneath the resistance of the Gann arc here. But it's not that big of a deal. Like, just putting it into context here, it's gotten way outside the upper Bollinger Band. If you would have bought WULF a few months ago, you would have bought WULF like up here at this wick, you're doing it wrong, right? You don't buy when things are way outside of the Bollinger Band. I don't care how bullish you are on the fundamentals. Actually, it's not financial advice. You can do whatever you want, but I wouldn't, right? I bought down here. I think my average is around like 2, and I don't really care to sell because I think it's just a consolidation move. It's going to go higher. I think WULF is going to go higher, but it's just underneath resistance right now. So don't be surprised if it goes down a little bit more before it goes up higher. There are a lot of support zone here on the monthly Ichimoku cloud here too, right? So don't be surprised if WULF's going down a little bit lower before going higher. But I do think that it's going to probably find support anywhere from like 3.5 to like $4. If it ends up correcting more, I don't think it has to. I think it's probably going to do okay, but don't be surprised if it does. Okay. But yeah, just looking at the Gann here, like it's basically doing what you think it's supposed to do. BTBT basically has been hugging this Gann arc down, and it broke through and it back tested it, touched the angle over here. A lot of things look very, very bullish, right? It looks like it wants to challenge up here at the 0.5 at the horizontal and the 0.618. It looks like probably the next move is going to make, because they already back tested all this stuff down here, because it already went sideways here for like a whole year. The next move is probably going to make it's going to go up to the arc up here, which is like $9, $10, $12, maybe at the 0.786. The 0.618 is going to be a pretty strong resistance level because you do have some horizontal price action over here. So maybe you have some rejection up here around the 6.8, but that's almost like double where price is right now, right? So yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing. I'm seeing the same kind of pattern across the board, where you have a lot of these miners are going back down, back testing the critical support zone, and they bounce. Even Riot, you can argue like it got really close to the gain arc down here, and it's probably going to gravity up back to like $10 before going higher. HUD8 also have really left this arc up here. It basically back tested horizontal zone up here. I think a lot of miners have found the bottoms, and I don't really see it being that bad anymore. Now, if you're asking me about some of the other smaller cap miners, which some folks have asked me before, like for example, somebody asked me about Hive. I think Frank asked me about Hive. I gotta say, like Hive, I haven't really looked into Hive that much, but it looks very similar to HUD, and it might be lagging behind a little bit because it's underneath the 20. A lot of these small miners are underneath the 20-month moving average. Like BitDeer is underneath that, right? You are having a pretty big volume support here, but it's underneath that. Somebody asked me about Spear 3D is underneath that. Midgie and that Mousen is also underneath that, right? So there's a reason why I'm not entering, like DigiHose is underneath that, right? All of these are very similar to Riot. So there's a reason why I'm not really into the smaller cap miners quite just yet. Although when they move, obviously you could potentially capture some pretty sick gains, even from where prizes, for example, you do like DigiHose, you can potentially capture some like 2x, 3x gains from here on out. But I'm not convinced by these smaller cap miners yet. I just like it when things are found some good support at a GAN, and also at found support at a rising 20-month moving average. So that's why I'm positioned the way that I am. I'm not really looking at the smaller cap miners. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at. Now, if you want to talk about the target zone here, I'm doing a little bit of a different thing here. So I'm talking about all the miners together instead of doing it one at a time, which I actually think is like the way to do it, because a lot of them are actually showing you some very, very similar things here. Looking at the target zone, I think it's more reasonable to do that on a linear scale rather than a log scale in terms of Fibonacci. I do think that the arcs up here, and again, I'm just completely speculating, right? If Bitcoins hit 100,000 and doesn't go any higher, I can see it hitting this arc up here again, where it got rejected over here in January 2021. I can see it hitting the arc up here and the horizontal zone over here. I can see it getting back to around at least like $30, if not like 33, somewhere maybe like 35. And that would be the end of the cycle if Bitcoin only hits like 100,000, right? If Bitcoin goes a lot higher, let's say if it goes to like 175,000 or it goes like 200,000, yeah, it can hit some of these upper levels here easily. 2.618 would be where my level would be, which is like $108, somewhere up here. I can see that hitting for CleanSpark, but it has to go through the monthly Ichimoku cloud here, which is a strong resistance to get up there, right? So it depends on what Bitcoin does. And also same thing with IWM. If IWM breaks all-time high and gets to like 300, then CleanSpark going to hit up maybe like 108, right? If this cycle end up being muted, then maybe 35. That could be it. Somewhere in between, around 68 to like $70, maybe Tall Ichimoku cloud here, and there's 1.618. That could also be a potential target where it might end up getting rejected, and you end the cycle. But that's kind of where I'm seeing. Like I have a hard time seeing CleanSpark going lower. If it does go lower, that's too bad. Like then so be it. The downside risk is going to be the angle down here around like $6, right? But I'm not really seeing that right now. But you have to be aware of what the downside risk is too, right? Even if it goes already down to the angle here, it's still a higher low. It's still a bull trend. So, but you have to be aware of kind of what you're looking at here. So that's CleanSpark for you. Now Mara, in terms of targets, let's look at what I'm seeing here. Same thing. Yeah, I can see that if Bitcoin hits like 100,000 and that's it, then Mara's probably going to hit somewhere up here in the top of the cloud in this arc up here. It might hit like $40, 42, and that could be the end of the cycle. Or if things end up going, let's say if Bitcoin goes up to just like 100,000, and IWM ends up like doesn't go up that high. But if IWM ends up hitting like 300 and Bitcoin just goes to 100,000, I still think that Mara has the potential to hit back close to its previous all-time high. Because these are still, related to these are small cap stocks, right? So if there's a risk on sentiment coming in, if Bitcoin just goes to 100,000, but IWM does really well, I can still see it hitting up here around like the 80s. I think it's possible. If Bitcoin goes to 175 or 200,000, and if IWM goes to like 300, 350, then you're talking about some of the stupid targets up here, like around. I mean, I'm gonna change this from lock from log to linear. Then you're talking about some stupid targets up here around like 200 and 300 at this arc up here. But that would be like stupid. So not to say it's impossible, right? You have to take that in consideration because what it do from here to here, even though it was diluting the whole way, you have price went from like $3 to 33, 34. So who's there to say it won't go from like 16 all the way up to like 200, 300? You haven't even had like that big of a euphoric sentiment here, and you can build up a lot of euphoric sentiment moving forward. Anyway, it's a stupid target. Don't listen to me. Don't worry about it. Just let's moving on. Moving on. Yes, let's move on. I did GME already. The music is, oh my god. Please feel free to go back and look at it. Bitfarms targets, again, 100,000. Maybe hit back at like $4 or $5, maybe. If IWM does really well, maybe hit up to the arc level, maybe back test this previous all-time high here, somewhere around like $10. If Bitcoin does really well, then you're talking about 18, talking about like 40, which are again like stupid targets. So don't listen to me, right? Yeah, you can hit like $16, $18 range, and it could potentially even hit like around like 30s to 40s if like Bitcoin does really well. But those are dumb numbers, so don't listen to me. CIFR. If Bitcoin just goes to like 100,000, maybe the 0.618 like $10 potentially, right? If Bitcoin IWM does really well, you can hit the arc up here, which is maybe like around $20, and the angle up here, I can totally see that going up there if it ends up doing that. A lot of people don't think it's possible because things just kind of gone sideways for like a whole year and a half. So why would you think that it's going to go up? It's just going to keep going sideways, right? Or it could go down. Where's the downside risk? I mean, you can talk about like $2 or something like that, but I think it's just kind of ridiculous to think about because I think Bitcoin's going higher. The question to me is more upside risk, but I might be biased, so be careful, right? $10, 20, potentially like 40 to 50 up here, depending on how it goes. IREN, I'm going to change all this from like the log to like a linear here. IREN, if it breaks above the arc, if it breaks above the horizontal here, if Bitcoin does 100,000, it can hit like the previous high over here around like the high 20s, which is going to be the arc up here. If it does better than expected, the horizontal over here is 40. The arc up here is going to be around 60s and sorry, around the 70s and 80s, and potentially hit like 100. And that'd be like kind of like a pretty nice run up, but again, it depends on what Bitcoin IREN does. WULF. You asked me what WULF could do. Yeah, depends on what Bitcoin does. I can totally see it challenging like the $7 level over here, challenging the arc up here around like the high teens. A very important level is going to be around 27. And if it breaks above the previous all-time high, like this is a little bit ridiculous because they weren't really a miner back in like November 2021. So a lot of these price action may not reflect how it is right now in terms of what it's doing. But if it breaks above, yeah, I mean, it can potentially just 10x and makes like you can go up to this arc over here around like 40s and 50s and maybe even $60, and that would be a very, very nice gain. I don't really see it pushing beyond that, but I think that a potential 10x is in the table if Bitcoin does really well. Yeah, I'm gonna be done with price targets, so I just keep on going all night. Somebody asked about coin. I have a stupid arrow here. The reason why I have a stupid arrow here is this is because this is like what I really do see. The reason why is I think that we've found a bottom here. Like I'm pretty confident that we found a bottom here is because you have a horizontal zone over here, which is coinciding with the 0.618 log fit level around 160. You bounce, right? You even back test the arc down here. So I think it's gonna bounce up. And I think it's gonna break about the arc over here. And I think it's gonna re-challenge the 0.786 if it's able to go through that. Then it's gonna go up to like the 3,400 zone. I think altcoins is gonna blast up, and I think Coinbase is gonna be a very, very big beneficiary for that. And if that ends up happening like I anticipated too, again, nothing is deterministic. I don't know for sure, but I can see totally Coinbase going up potentially up here right around like 800. I can totally see that being the end of the cycle. Do I think it's going to go through like the 4-digit zone up here? Probably not. But I do think if price go up from here to like 800, that's a pretty significant gain. I'm not ruling it out, to go up higher, but my base case minimally, I think my base case minimum is going to go up to around like 400, and I can see it going up to 800. That's kind of what I'm thinking. There's really not much to say about Coinbase. Like you can just see that it found support where it needed to find support at. It didn't even touch the rising 20-month moving average. The Ichimoku cloud, you're also seeing a lot of confluence of the support zone over here, right? The kitchen also lines up with the 0.618, also lines up with again horizontal line over here. So like I think it found support, guys. I mean, it's going to go up higher. I don't know what else to say about it. So let's talk about China. Let's talk about China because Vivian is. I like somebody requested some altcoins. some altcoins. that's a like somebody like going to a Chinese restaurant and want like some Chinese food. Like, what do you want, man? The whole menu. No, I'm not making fun of you. I'm just saying. I just think it's funny. Going to the Hang Seng index to start out with. Be supportive. I want to do as many chart requests as possible. And I'm getting to the point that I have enough members and y'all are great supporters that at some point I might make the chat and the chart requests like members only. so I don't lose my voice. So I can keep it under 2 hours on these things. I'm gonna try to do them on Saturdays, but like the membership you want to join is only like $5, like $4.99 a month. If you want to, like if you enjoy the content, you don't even have to like do chart requests or anything, but if you enjoy the content, if you want to, it's just a way to like for me to like weed out like who's like a supporter who supports me and I kind of support back. Like the money part like doesn't really matter that much, but it's just a way to like I like for me to show you appreciation. If you want to do that, that'd be great. If not, that's fine too. But yeah, I'm going to try to fulfill y'all's chart requests anyway, regardless. But what is it doing right now? I'm not pulling any indicators over here on the Hang Seng. And in the Hang Seng, or Hang Seng Jiso, is really what it's called. The Hang Seng is in Hong Kong. The majority of the Chinese stocks are listed in the Hang Seng. And if you really want to know how the Chinese market is doing, I don't even look at like the Shenzhen index or Shanghai index, like nothing else matter. You look at the Hang Seng and you know how the Chinese market is doing. It just literally formed a higher high over here on the monthly. Now, then the monthly hasn't closed yet, right? So I probably should look at a weekly candle here because the weekly candle here closed. So the weekly candle over here, where did it close at? Around 742. Over here is 22,700. So you literally just form a higher high over here, right? You had a higher high. You also had a higher low over here. It's pretty clear this is a higher low compared to that. It's a bull trend. I don't need any indicators for this. What does it look like? And I call this like Vivian knew this because Vivian has been following my channel for a very long time. She's a big fan. I don't know. I don't understand why I have a fan, but I have a fan who posts some pretty interesting memes on my timeline on X. So I appreciate that too because it keeps me entertained. Whenever I wake up and like check my notification, I see these like off the wall memes. I'm like, what is going on? It's an Adam and Eve bottom. And I've been talking about this. I don't think that, and this is where it goes to the negative sloping 20-month moving average, right? If you were very bullish in November through January, you are talking about a margin call. Thank you for joining. thanks for joining the thing here. But anyway, you're talking about the 20-month moving average negative sloping. They're sloping. That's just going to be resistance, right? You're not really going to have a chance to break out until you really turn it flat over here. And I did talk about China. I did think that it was going to flip this from resistance to support, and it did. It didn't even bother backtesting and support. It just went to the moon, right? So you also are starting to have a trend change here. You have the Bollinger Band expanding on the monthly, and the 20-month moving average just curling up. Now, I'm not even talking about like the geopolitical risk. I'm not talking about anything. I'm just talking about the pure technical standpoint. This is a bull trend now. This is the start of a potentially a powerful bull trend. Does it mean that price is going to end up just pushing way higher from here without any kind of breather? No, but this is objectively a bull trend. We are also at a very important resistance zone. Why are we at a very important resistance zone? Is because the current level over here has been a very important level for a very long time. I can even draw this all the way back to like even pre Great Financial Crisis, and you can see like how important the zone has been here, here, and then also over the last few years. Like you're talking about this. This is basically the Adam and Eve butt line, if you will, right? If you think about double bottom, I guess this is like the waistline, not the neckline, like a head and shoulder. But you're at resistance, right? Why else are you at resistance right now? You're at resistance on the monthly Ichimoku cloud. You're at resistance at the monthly Ichimoku cloud. When you're at a resistance as a monthly Ichimoku cloud, typically it's no joke. I generally don't think things break through the monthly Ichimoku cloud that easily. If CleanSpark couldn't do it, if Shopify couldn't do it, would the Hang Seng Index be able to push through, right? I don't know the answer to that. All I know is that it's turning into a longer term bull trend. You had a bullish crossover here on the monthly Ichimoku cloud. All I know is it's turning into a bull trend here, but I do expect things to get rejected here. And if I'm wrong, then I'm sorry. I do think that currently, I think things are a little bit overextended, and I think we're at a pretty important resistance zone. So I think that it might end up going sideways here, maybe down a little bit. I just have a hard time really seeing a weekly Bollinger Band. Like, I have a hard time seeing like the last week closing way above the weekly upper Bollinger Band here to be that sustainable. I could be wrong, right? Because this all is saying is that this price action is very, very impulsive. Do I have any previous example on the Hang Seng that it did that and it just keeps on having bullish continuation? The answer is I do not. Like pretty much the entire all these previous bull trends, they all touch the Bollinger Band. This is like and whenever you have things that are just way way above the upper Bollinger Band, like over here, you end up getting punished for it, right? So I just don't know. I just don't know if I would favor in the short term. I'm sorry, guys. I just don't know if I favor in a short term that it's just gonna keep going. I do worry a little bit over here, based on a lot of resistance levels that I'm seeing, right? Yeah, no, thanks, Martin Cole, for thinking that I'm great help. I try to do things, but I appreciate you. I appreciate y'all, actually. But yeah, I get a little bit worried. You know what I mean. I talk about IREN. I kind of lump Andre. I kind of lump all the miners together, but I did talk about IREN in terms of what I think price targets and everything. So I will try to make a little bit of a timestamp, but it was just like 20, 30 minutes ago. So yeah, but I just don't see it having like bullish continuation. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. I don't know. I wouldn't buy China here. I wait for a pullback, but I don't know if I can guarantee that it's not going to be like just be irrational and just go up. I do think that if you ask me, and this is just a subjective opinion, if you ask me, I do worry about the China economy, and I do worry that it might get rejected up here around the 28,000s. I do think that it's going to hit that area, and I don't know what's going to happen after that. Now, if it hits the 28,000 and it pushes through a back test here, then it can go a lot higher. But I don't know if it can, because it's just going to take a lot of energy to get all the way up here. And it can take like another 12 months. I don't think it's going to be a straight path up. I just don't, you know. But I do think that the target for me during this cycle is probably going to be around 28,000. I don't know whether or not this is going to push through. It could. The reason why I think I'm now starting to kind of change my mind here a little bit in terms of that it could push through is because the 20-month moving average is just now starting to curl up, and the price action is very, very impulsive. So I think that sometime around 2025 is going to hit 28,000. And then I'll see how the price reacts from there on moving forward, right? Because I just don't know. Like, this looks like a beginning of something great, but so did over here around December 2020. It looks like it could be a beginning of something great, but it just didn't really end up materializing, right? You can blame all this on COVID, but you can also blame all this on like the China tariffs that the Trump administration has placed in that has really severely hurt China's economy in terms of its industrials for a very long time. It's showing here on a Hang Seng. Like, it's just absolutely terrible. A lot of factories already left to like other regions. So I don't know. Anyway, to talk about China bullish over the next 12 to 18, 12 months or so. What happens after that? I'm murky. Okay, I don't know. I probably won't invest in China because I don't know. I just think that the U.S. stock market is gonna like keep on going up because they're gonna keep on printing money. They're the reserve currency, and there's just a lot more like safety if you're if you're an investor. If you're a trader, heck, I mean, like, there's a lot more money to make in the Chinese stocks moving forward. But if you are a trader, I'm a little bit cautious. Now, if you are Vivian, you asked for a few stocks before. I'm trying to get back to FUTU and BABA. Of course, we want to talk about BABA. BABA, I drew again here too. Let's look at it. Let's get the Bollinger Band out of the way. Where I think BABA is going to hit. BABA is actually looking pretty nice. So this is a Gantt chart that I drew. Let me see. Yeah, on the monthly, 360 and 1. And it looks like it's just been respecting these arcs very nicely, right? And it came back down, and it had a hard time break through this arc over here. Look at just how nice it is, and it also basically just got wedged between this blue arc here and this orange arc over here. Found support at the angle, pushed through, broke the angle. Now on the monthly, again, this is not closed yet, right? But on the monthly, it looks like it wants to break above the arc over here. If it breaks about the arc over here, 125, sorry, 125, 126, that's going to be your target. And which is why I think the Hang Seng might end up running a little bit higher before you really finding any potential rejection here. A monthly Bollinger Band nicely expanded. Monthly 20-month moving average nicely flipped from resistance here to support, right? Again, I'm not making any of this stuff up. Where am I going to potentially find strong resistance? Let's look at this. Let's look at the Fibonacci here. Sorry, guys. And I'm going to make that a, this is a linear scale. Good. So yeah, 120 to 125 is going to be probably where you're going to hit some pretty major resistance, because the Bollinger Bands also need time to kind of expand too. So yeah, you're probably going to end up hitting some resistance here, 120, 125, maybe back test some of the levels down here at the arc around like 110, 108, somewhere around there. And then I can totally see it pushing through. It doesn't, that's the thing about Alibaba. It doesn't have to reach its previous all-time high for you to make a lot of money. It doesn't have to do that. All it has to do is, like, currently price is 114, right? If it breaks about 120, 125, all it has to do is maybe get to arc angle or like over here around like 188, or it gets up to like the 0.1618 or the 0.786 up here around the 200. You already have made like tremendous money from where it was before, right? Um, do I think that price would hit some of these levels up here? Absolutely. Like, this is the beginning of a very nice bull trend. I think it's going to hit. I think it's going to hit like 150s at least, 150s, 160s at least. I think that it probably will hit like the 200s, and I'm talking about the next 12 to 18 months. I think it can hit some of these levels up here. I don't know if it's necessarily going to break its previous all-time high. That I don't know. If you're looking at this being a Adam and Eve bottom over here, then this is 120. The bottom over here is like 60. So 120, 60. If you add 60 to 120, the target is going to be up here at 0.5. So target of this Adam and Eve bottom is going to be somewhere up here around like 180s. Okay, I think it's going to hit. What's going to happen after that? I do not know. That's kind of how I would stand with Baba. If you want to get into any other Chinese stocks, I worry about Baidu because Baidu is getting rejected here at a negative sloping 20, right? I worry about JD here a little bit, but I think it's initially I was a little bit worried over here because it was really strong negative sloping, but there's a pretty strong trend change here for JD. Like JD just have really flipped from like negative to like positive within just a couple candles. It's absolutely amazing to look at how it turned it from like resistance here, and it just flipped it. It just flipped it just based on like 2 candles. It's also like basically going above all of these like volume resistance zone, and now it's flipping all these to support, right? So could JD come back and back test like $40 before for the bullish continuation? Yeah, it can. But even JD is looking positive. Like for a while, I'm like, I don't know about this. Like, it's just so negative sloping. Now JD looks okay. Pinduoduo, that downtrend over there, that was probably just a little bit of a scare. Found a volume shove support. Found support here, a rising 20. It still looked bullish to me. This looked like what like Nvidia would like scare people with, but overall is still for the most part making higher highs and higher lows. And right now we're back up around this resistance levels up here. So I think it's probably going to push through eventually, just because we're really build up a lot of energy trying to push through. So yeah, I mean, like I'm not that bearish on these stocks over the next 12 to 18 months. I think there's a lot of money to be made. Do I think that they're investments? I don't know. Let's get to your favorite here, FUTU. I do want to say one thing. I do want to say one thing is that I was talking in the beginning about Danny's, and I was talking in the beginning about the Great Matsby's Patreon. I think I might start to do some collaborative videos with them, and I'm not like getting paid by them or anything. I'm just trying to support my friends. Their Patreons are cheap. I think they provide a lot of value. So I think they're they might be opening up like some higher tiers and things like that. I don't know what they want to do, but I might start doing some like private videos for them, which I won't release with us, because like I charge like $5 a month. Like I don't want them to like anyway get like screwed because of that. So like I do some like private content, but the majority of them is just gonna be them. I'm just there like talking and support. Whatever I see, I'm still gonna share with you. Like wherever I see, I'm not gonna share with you like what they think in terms of like the Danny's beautiful charts and things like that. But yeah, I think and I just did a video with them on like FUTU today. So they're probably gonna end up releasing it at some point. I don't know yet. Just so you know. What do I think about FUTU is overextended. I was following FUTU for a very long time, and I was very tempted to buy in the 60s, but I didn't. I was very tempted to buy in the 50s, but I didn't. And next thing you know, I got punished for it. Vivian, though, on the other hand, I don't know. You listen to me and you form your own convictions, so congratulations on that. Yeah, Frog Dog, I think Danny's is a very systematic way to look at the stock market. I actually think like with him, with the Great Matsby and my own TA, and maybe also with like trackers elite waves to look at like levels, things like that. I think like that's all I really need. So I'm very lucky to have met those guys. But um, I actually I don't know. I haven't done it. I don't think I've done a Gann chart here. But let's look at the Fibonacci levels here. The 0.618 is around 137. I can see that being like a rejection level, but so far there's no sign for it slowing down. It's very, very much overbought, but I don't want to bet against it. I would not buy here, but if I was in FUTU, I probably also would not sell here, um, because like even if it makes some like pretty bad like 20 negative, like negative 20 or 30% moves, it's probably going to go up higher over the next like 12 months or so. I just don't like chasing, but I think there's still probably a lot of gains to be made. If you're already in it, then congratulations. The Gann square here. Let's do a Gann here on the monthly just to be fun seeking. I have not done this, so I'm just basically just going to do it here on the fly here. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to do 180. If I can try it out to 180. And yeah, 2 is a pretty good number. Let's do 5 though. What did I see in? I don't know. I don't like this market symmetry. That's the thing about Gann. Sometimes you just get a little bit, subjective here. But I'm just going to stick with 5 here. It does give me some market symmetry here. I think it's breaking above the arc over here where it got rejected over here previously. After it backtested what it needed backtest, like the horizontal zone over here at the arc over here, and initially got rejected, last month, but we were pushing through so far. The next level is like 137. Is there any confluence there in the 137 level? The answer is yes, right? At 0.618. So you probably end up getting some rejection here at the 0.618 around 135, 137. If you're just doing it for a trade, that might be a good area to kind of take profit. There's no guarantee that that's going to end up getting rejected, but if it does, that would be a reasonable area. It could come back down, back to the 0.5, the arc down here, before further bullish continuation. I think over the next 12 to 18 months, it could probably hit the arc up here. It would probably hit the 1.618, and it would probably end up hitting the horizontal line up here around like 350s, based on just how impulsive the bull trend is. But there's no guarantee, right? And it's not going to go up in a straight line on there. But I can see these levels potentially getting hit this cycle because I think that there's a everything rally that's happening. So, woo! Oh yeah, wow, I'm a Chinese stock, and I'm only gone for 2 hours, so why don't I just talk about NEO here too? Would I buy NEO here at resistance? Probably not, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, look at the 20. But if it's able to flip that from resistance to support, things can go up in a hurry, right? Like here, I did not expect JD to do this. I just did not expect JD to do this. So if you want to buy at resistance in anticipation that it might do something crazy like that, great. I'm just not going to buy resistance. So I'm gonna miss the move here in JD. Like that's just how it works. Like I'm just not going to buy resistance. But can if the Chinese stock continue to go up higher, could NEO push through? Yeah, but also have some reservation too because the Hang Seng is at the monthly Ichimoku call resistance here, right? So I think NEO is also probably going to hit like its resistance right here. So I'm not going to buy NEO at these level. I'm just not until I see some confirmation. But I do think that if you're asking me to guess, and I'm just guessing here because I have no confirmation here at all, the next 12 to 18 months is probably going to flip the 20-moving average from resistance to support, and NEO could potentially have a run. Again, it doesn't have to hit the previous all-time high for you to make a lot of money from NEO. That's the thing. So I think that NEO is going to do pretty well. All right, talking about a couple of altcoins here. I'm going to end the stream because it's been close to 2 hours. Somebody asked about Solana. What do I think about Solana? Solana. Do I have a how do I draw? The can here sucks. I'm going to take that. Actually, I'm going to flip the weekly again here. I'm going to do 360. Yeah, 360. Come on. And I'm going to flip that to 1,000. Get rid of this here for now. I gotta say, the market symmetry is not that great. All right, I'm gonna get rid of again here. What I think about Solana, real quick. A lot of the altcoins I made a video about altcoins. A lot of altcoins looking like they're doing pretty decent. Solana is one of those that are doing very decent. It's basically doing what Bitcoin did, which is to bounce from the weekly Ichimoku cloud. It looks like it's still finding support. And it looks like it probably just wanted to go down, push the cloud, and go higher. That's what it's doing. But so far, I'm not seeing like an impulsive reaction quite just yet from Solana. So, so I'm not sure yet. Like it certainly doesn't look like it wants to break below the cloud, and the cloud looks pretty thick. So I think Solana is going to do okay. But I was just not seeing that impulsive price action quite just yet. But I do think that it's going to go higher. If I look at the the reason why is also it's not really yet flipped the support band from resistance to support quite just yet. But this is basically doing what like Bitcoin is doing. Like it's just basically lagging behind Bitcoin here a little bit. It looks very similar to Bitcoin in terms of both of our support band and also in terms of Ichimoku. Ichimoku looks like Bitcoin's outperforming the Solana chart here a little bit, but they're basically doing a very, very similar thing. So I'm not bearish on Solana. I think it's going to have some bullish continuation. If you ask me how far Solana is going to go this cycle, that's always a tough question to ask because I think that sometimes you have a coin that is an early performer like Solana has been all the way from where it was before to where it is right now. You're talking about a huge gain that has been made from $8 to like 200s, right? So I don't know whether or not this is one of those like early cycle coins where you already had like the wave 3 that had already happened. You might end up pushing up from here on up, maybe hit like the 2.618 or the 1.618 here, or maybe even higher. But you might end up having other coins might potentially outperform Solana. I don't know, right? The clear rejection here is 0.786 around 206. And then it's just been hovering between these Fibonacci levels, right? Right now, we're stuck in a range between 0.5 and the 0.618. And I think it's probably going to break through whenever it's done, correcting sideways here. But I just don't know how far you'll end up going this cycle moving forward. One way that I kind of look at that would be to, man, where's the low Bollinger Band here? It's like all the way down here. One way I looked at that is to look at like Bollinger Band contraction. That generally tells me a little bit of what Solana could be doing. I think the trend might be a little bit exhausting here. So I totally see it could potentially make another like 5x or something like that. Maybe even higher. I can really see that, but I'm not sure if it's got like another 10 or 15x with Solana moving forward. If Bitcoin does well, I'm not sure about that. If you're talking about I'm the real cat. I don't know if there is such a thing as the Telegram cat here, but thank you for asking. This is my Dogecoin chart. I look at the 20-month moving average, and whenever you have the 20-month moving average flip a negative sloping, the positive sloping, if price finds support, I'm generally bullish. And you're supposed to be bearish after it makes a big run, which that hasn't really been the case. So yeah, bullish on Doge. If you ask me how high I think Doge is going to go, I would say that nobody really knows. I did draw some GAN levels here before, which I'm not going to do. I'm going to basically just do quick, Fibonacci retracement here. I think it could potentially hit like, at least like $1 at 1.2 to like maybe close to $2. I think those are my target this month. Not this month, this cycle. this month. What the heck am I talking about? The last cycle went way beyond that. Last cycle went way above these like Fibonacci levels. I don't think we're going to have the same thing this cycle, but I do think that there's a chance for Doge to make probably at least like a 10x, if not a little bit higher. It's just like GME where you just have like all these inside candles over here for like 40 something months. So I think whenever it breaks about this range, the move is going to be very powerful. So yeah, I'm not bearish on like Doge. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, you want to talk about Tau? I can look at Tau here real quick. It doesn't really have that much history though. I don't know which exchange has the most Tau history because like if you look at Binance, it doesn't really give me that much. Okay, so let's look at the Maxi. Where are you? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, more history here. Good. Thanks for that. If you're asking me what Tau is doing, let me throw a Gann chart here for fun. I'm trying to do these things like speed runs here pretty quickly here. So I'm gonna do like 180. And I think I'm gonna do like 10 to see what I'm seeing. Yeah, it's a beautiful chart. I don't know, like, again, I'm not making this up. Look at how beautiful the Gann is. It's at resistance. It's at resistance right now, which is not surprising because the weekly Bollinger Band price is currently outside of that. Do I think it's going to break above resistance? Yes, I do, because the trend is up. Bollinger Band is expanding, and the 20-week moving average is pointing up. But could it go down the arc here a little bit before breaking out? Possible, right? Possible. But yeah, I'm not bearish on it, but I just think that maybe, a little bit of cautions needed if your expectations are that it's just going to push up from here on out. It's still underneath resistance, and it's still a little bit above the weekly Bollinger Band, so just be a little bit more careful with it. But I do think that this is a very nice, bullish continuation. For like, but even Bitcoin doesn't look like this. But that's why you're interested in it. That's why the Great Matsby is also interested in it, actually. He was talking about Tau when price is out over here just a few weeks ago. He was talking about Tau basically just hitting the bottom of the arc here and backtest the arc here, and it broke through the horizontal here, and next thing you know, it just gravitated up towards the next level here, right? So I would say that maybe be a little bit more cautious. It could end up going sideways down here a little bit, but if you're already in it, if you can tolerate like some sideways move from like 368 all the way down to like 400s, like the high 400s, then I think that's okay. But if this is a trade for you, maybe this is like a decent area to take profits. I don't know. Ultimately, I think it's going to hit like the line up here, which is 800, where it kind of got rejected here previously. And ultimately, I think that the way that it's looking right now, it's probably going to hit like this arc up here, like in the 4 digits. I don't know how high it goes. Okay, I have no idea about the fundamentals, but I think it's got at least like a double to it, maybe a little bit more. Maybe I'm being a little bit conservative because I don't know this chart here at all. But yeah, I think that there's nothing bearish about it. That's all I can say. If you just look at the 20, you don't have much of a 20-month moving average here, but if you just look at the 20, like it's just like way above the 20-month moving average down here. So um, I don't know, like, I can even really do like a Fibonacci retracement here for cycle wise, but I can do it based on like this current cycle so far. I can totally see it hitting like, doubling up to like 1.618 or even higher. But again, I also don't know how much of the move has already been exhausted from all the way down to like 29 bucks, all the way up to the current price, right? It already made like a 20x this cycle. So I don't know how much higher it can go. If I have to go crazy, I could see that potentially can hit like 2000. It might have another 4x left to it, but this might be the big like wave 3. I don't know. If I'm wrong, what's the market cap of Tau? They even show here. Anyway, if I'm wrong, if it goes up to like like 10,000 or something like that, great. But I just don't really know enough about it to speculate. I think it's probably going to at least like double from here. So 4.3 billion. Yeah, I think it's going to have a hard time making another like 10x. It could, but like this whole giant move over here, the 20x is probably take a lot of like the forward gains. I think a lot of people end up taking profits, so they might end up pumping something else. But I do think Tau is probably going to go up, from here on out, at least 2x, maybe 3x, maybe 4x, which is not a bad gain. But I'm not sure if I can say any more than that. So, Sway. Somebody, yeah, Frog Dog mentioned Stray. This is probably going to be my last chart, guys. Thank you for joining, and I can't believe I did another 2 hours with y'all. It's fun as always. Which one has the most history here? Actually, yeah, it's hard for me. Let me see. Yeah, usually crypto has a pretty. I mean, it looks like it's at resistance, but it looks like it wants to break through. This monthly candle here is like absolutely insane. What's the market cap for this. Yeah, another $4.8 billion market cap. Do a Fibonacci retracement, nothing crazy. Actually, no, let's just go crazy here. How high do I think you can get this cycle? Yeah, I can see it hitting 1.618. I can see it hitting up here too, but that's a huge market cap. For like a Solana coin, I don't know. But there's nothing bearish about this cup. There's nothing bearish about this cup. I just wonder if it needs to form a little bit more of a handle before it goes up higher. But there's nothing bearish about the cup here. I guess yeah, you have like a kind of like a double bottom over here. It's hard for me to chart this. I don't have enough price history to look into that, but it looks like it wants to break above this level over here. If I do let me see, if I do Binance, it might give me a little bit more volume history here. Oh yeah, very nice volume. I think this probably going to end up having some correction here, but I think it's probably going to end up breaking through. Last time it didn't break through the zone because of declining volume. This time you have increasing volume breaking into it. So I think it might consolidate sideways, but I think it's going to break out. So please don't go. I already talked nonstop for like 2 hours. All right, I gotta pee, and you guys have been great. And I'm gonna try to do these live stream as much as I can, if I can, on a weekly basis. And no, thank you for joining the membership. Thank you for keeping me accompanied. And I hope you guys have a great rest of the weekend. I'm gonna go now. Bye.